So Y&R's ambition for Africa is to build a network, through Africa. Quite simple, start at the beginning. And with building a network, I think it's important to create cohesion and fluidity between the offices. Africa's a big continent. There's lots to learn, lots to discover. So building a network that talks to each other, that uses the tools that Y&R disseminates from its center, is going to be the first thing. And the truth is, this has been going on for about almost 2 years now. There's been a real focus on Africa. The rest of the world's looking at Africa in terms of growth. That's no secret. And there are a lot of networks actually doing some really interesting things throughout Africa. So in certain cases we have catch up to do. But I do think that there's a vast amount of opportunity for us to drive a better, more fluid, more connected network throughout Africa. And that's really kind of the first step. You can take two routes with this kind of job. You can either parachute people in to fix certain problems and use talent from South Africa or elsewhere in the globe. And this has been done, I've seen this happen throughout the network globally, not just the Y&R network, where you kind of parachute people in and there's a brief and the client's got a problem or the client's unhappy and you fly in best of class talent and you kind of fix the problem and then you leave. And you might fix it, on a short-term basis, but you're never really fixing the real problem. And sort of my ambition is to really build this from the ground up. And yes, it is going to take some influence, not just from South Africa, but from global tools. The global strategy director came down to a conference in Namibia and imparted amazing toolkits and amazing decks about, all the Y&R tools. And I think that's the right method. I think that there should be a more ground-up approach where you're going in and you're working with the team, but you're not doing all the work for them. So I think the challenges with trying to raise the bar creatively throughout the continent is that you have some countries that are really good and some countries that need a lot of help. And sometimes in the countries that need a lot of help, you get the most amazing opportunities. I think South Africa is incredibly saturated. Like, we all know how the clients behave. We all know how the brewery clients behave. We all know how the financial sector behaves. We all kind of know how the automotive industry behaves in South Africa. So there's almost this there's a little bit of a stagnant approach to the way we kind of do things. And maybe that's being too critical, but that's fine. Whereas I think when you go into some of these regions in Africa and some of these countries, it's all wide open. It's you're working on a brand that has never really kind of been pushed before or never really been asked to kind of raise the bar creatively. And sometimes the response is amazing. Sometimes the response is, look, this is how we do it, so kind of do it like this. But I think the challenge is not necessarily about how to raise the bar. The challenge is about trying to find those opportunities and take hold of those opportunities, which is why it's so important to have a connected network. Because if a brief does come along or a client kind of steps up and says, hey, we want something interesting, you've got to be able to respond to that really quickly and put the best people around it and work with the team on the ground to kind of make that project as good as it can be.